good on you, boys and girls? Thanks for tuning into the show. Do me a favor, subscribe down below, share the show, text it out to a friend, share it to your social media. Helps me a lot. I appreciate you, and I appreciate all you guys do for me. One person I want to thank is Melissa Smith. I've been meaning to do this for the last few episodes, but I was a little bit distracted because of a couple deaths in the family. So Melissa Smith, thank you so much for your promotion of the show and the things you've done to help get the show out there. I appreciate you, and I appreciate all of you. So welcome and thank you. Bit of a funny story. It's an unfortunate thing. Let me get this adjusted here. Trying to look a little, decent here with this bad haircut still. Starting to feel it a little bit. Remind me, if I ever decide to get my hair cut again, don't let me. I want to grow my hair out. It was starting to look good, and for some idiotic reason, I got it in my head, maybe I should get a haircut. Went a little too tight on the sides. I look like a moron right now. But my Uncle Mike's wake, which I got a lot of, good responses. And that show, by the way, there was no ego behind that show, and I'll make that very clear. If you notice in the episode, I didn't put anything about like, hey, subscribe to this show or text it out to a friend. I do it on all the other ones, of course, shameless promotion. I didn't do it on the one for my Uncle Mike because I didn't want it to be anything about me, anything about ego, anything about getting subscribers, anything about that. It was truly a show to honor my Uncle Mike, and it was a show to for his family left behind. My Uncle Bob, my mother, my Aunt Carol, my Uncle Bill, his son, Michael, all the cousins, the family, things like that, and friends and people knew him. But I got a lot of good responses from that episode. And if you haven't seen it, I would encourage you to watch it. Again, you don't have to be related or know my Uncle Mike to get the lesson in that episode. It's a short episode. It's under 15 minutes, but it truly is a reminder that we need to live. And he talks about that in a very good way. So if you haven't seen it, I encourage you to go ahead and watch it. And hopefully there's a lesson in there for you and something you can take away from it. But I'm going to my Uncle Mike's wake, and I asked my mom, what's the address to the wake? She texts me the address. I love technology. I type it into the phone tells me where to go. And I'm getting closer, and I'm getting into a really bad area of Chicago, really, really bad, like really, really bad, where I'm quite literally getting scared. And I'm thinking, there's no way my family planned my Uncle Mike's wake anywhere in this where I'm at, because it's bad. It was bad. Everything was boarded up, and it wasn't looking good. I was getting to stoplights, and then people were walking up to my car. At one point, they didn't punch my car, but there was one point, like it was like a backhand of my car and yelling at me, what am I doing here? And I'm like, I don't know. And I finally call, and I'm scared. I'm no joking. I was scared because I'm like, I'm going to die here. I'm not going to make it out of here. And I call my mom. My mom answers, and I'm like, Mom, what is the address? Because there's no way. The lady, the chick on my phone said, hey, you're at your destination. And I'm looking, it's a boarded up, like, bad area. Bad area. And it says I'm at my destination, and I'm like, this is not a funeral home. And so I tell her the address. She's like, well, where are you at? And I tell her the address. She's like, that's not the address. I'm like, that's the one you gave me. And so my dad gets on the phone. He's like, no, this is the address. And and they're asking where I'm at. I'm saying, this is where I'm at. And they're like, you are like an hour away. I'm like, an hour away? I typed in exactly what Mom told me. So I typed in the new address, and I think it said I was 58 minutes away. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. So thank God I made it out of there alive. But I'm not joking. Every time I pulled up to somewhere, people were either looking at me harshly, walking towards my car to, I'm assuming, what I'm thinking at this point is pull me out of the car and start beating the life out of me. And then, like I said, a few people came up, and one guy hit the car, backhanded it, and was yelling, like, what are you doing here? You don't belong here. And I'm thinking, racism is only a one-way street. Okay. So thank God I got out of there alive, and I made it to my uncle's wake. Sad, of course, and one thing I talked about this, I think, on my podcast a while ago, when my Aunt Joyce unexpectedly passed away, and it same applies. Like, you're just not ready for it, because you, even like in the video that I did in honor of my Uncle Mike, and he's talking on it, and then you see the person in the casket, and they don't look anything like themselves. And there's a lesson. I'm going to bring up a lesson behind this point. And it didn't even look like a human. It looked like he looked like a mannequin, or like a plastic person. Like, it just did not look real. And then it reminded me so much of how much of us is not this shell. And I really, please let that lesson sink in for just a second. Like, when the person that's inside us, whatever that is, soul, spirit, whatever you want to call it, I respect beliefs. I know what I call it. I know the beliefs that I have. But I'm saying, like, when that leaves us, like when life leaves us, that energy leaves us, and you have this empty shell, isn't it shocking how much of us, that invisible shell, that invisible, I should say, soul, spirit, life, energy, when it leaves us, how much we don't look like ourselves? How weird that is, how odd that is. I'm looking at my Uncle Mike, and I'm thinking, my Uncle Mike's gone. He's not in there anymore. This is the shell. This is the garage that his spirit lived in, basically. And it got me to thinking, because I'm a deep thinker. Sometimes I overthink things, but I'm thinking, like, that's what I was starting to think, is how much of us is not this physical form. When that energy, that spirit, that soul leaves us, and we're left with the shell, and you don't look anything like how you look, it's scary. It scares me, but also it's, in an odd way, and it's uplifting. It's therapeutic in an odd sense, because energy, you can't kill energy, okay? And if there is, think of it like thought as an example. And I have a good quote here. The ancestor of every action is a thought. The ancestor of every action is a thought, okay? You can think, I think it's every 7 years, I want to say, that every 7 years, every cell in our body is replaced, 100%. So, and I think that's accurate, the 7 years. Now, some cells die off faster and this and that, but I think if you took, like, who you are, let's say at age 7, and then you took it who you are at age 14, you're quite literally living in a completely different body. There's not one cell in your body that was present, that existed when you were 7, when you were 14, and on, 7, 14, 21, But your thoughts still remain. So in other words, I can think back beyond 7 years ago. I can think back when I was a child, and I have those thoughts. So what is thought? Like, you can open up an atom, and there's nothing there. There's nothing. It's formless, right? Same thing with a thought. So even though if you took at me at 7 years old, I'm sure I have memories and thoughts of 7 years old. I have those thoughts, but every cell in my body when I was 7 is not here now. It's completely gone. I'm a completely different physical person. But my thoughts still remain. I still have memories. I still have thoughts. So what is a thought? What is that energy that was my Uncle Mike that is no longer there? Where is that energy? Some people call it heaven. Some people, whatever it is. But I just think, like, again, I'm a deep thinker, and I think things, overthink things. But as people who follow the show and watch the show, I've had 2 deaths in the family very recently, and it shakes me a bit, and it scares me a bit, and it makes me think about the afterlife a bit, and where do we go? What do we do after that? And I know that energy lives, and it exists, and if thoughts still exist, even after, if every cell is replaced, but you still have those thoughts, I hope I'm making sense. I know I'm kind of a little bit slightly all over the place, but there's a lesson here, and it's supposed to be a motivational message, but it's also to get you to think. If every cell in your body's replaced, and you're not the same person you were 7 years ago, quite literally, physically, you are not the same person you were 7 years ago, but you still have thoughts from beyond that, memories from beyond that, what is a thought? What is that energy? And isn't it impossible to kill that energy? In other words, I don't want to necessarily make it religious. I know, again, I have my beliefs, I have my thoughts. What I'm saying is, even if you don't believe in anything, you almost have to believe that there's whatever that invisible energy is, that force, it still exists and it still goes on after the fact. So I've been, especially recently, I've been working with my wife quite a bit about how we have to develop faith and I don't want to expose her personal journey, but let's just say she's been shaken a bit, and I'm telling her, like, you have to believe in something, honey, because if you don't, what is the purpose? What is the point of all this? And I've been sharing some of these thoughts with her, like the energy you cannot kill. The energy still exists no matter what. And I hope I'm making sense. I hope I'm going somewhere with this. But it's supposed to be motivational. It's supposed to be uplifting. It's not supposed to be a downer. So again, what I said was, I'm looking at my Uncle Mike and I see a shell, and he's not in there anymore. But where is he? You can't kill energy. What are thoughts? It's all connected. There's something beyond this form, beyond this shell. There's something beyond that, and we have to believe that. And I think it's important for us to believe in something and to actively work towards that something. Now, a lot of people do believe we just die and that's it, and there's nothing else. We just turn to dust and that's it. But I just want you to reflect for a little bit. If you do have those thoughts, I'm not trying to sway you. I believe what you believe, and that's fine. But I'm saying, like, you almost have to believe, like, in this thought process. Literally thought process. Literally thought process. What I mean is, if we're not the same physical person, form is different every 7 years. Every cell in our body is replaced every 7 years. And we still have thoughts from beyond that, from before that, many, many years before that, depending on her age, of course. I can talk to my 98-year-old grandmother, and she can tell me stories of when she was a child. But every cell in her body has been replaced multiple times throughout her lifetime. But she still has those thoughts. What is a thought? What is that energy? That is very intriguing to me. And maybe I'm going a little bit deep, but I like that kind of thought process. I like thinking like that because it inspires me and it encourages me to not fear death, even though I do. I'm honest, and I do. I know that something exists outside of this form, outside of this shell, and that's what inspires me. And I hope it inspires you. I hope you think a little bit on that, because it goes deep. I wanted to talk a little bit because it's in the news. I'm going to try, people, I really want to make this clear. I'm going to try so hard to make my shows a lot more motivational, a lot more thought-provoking, a lot more positive, a lot more motivational, and I'm working on that. Sometimes I do have to address some of the things in the news. Breonna Taylor, I guess, I don't know what you want to call it, the cops. Only one cop was indicted. I want to talk about that just very briefly because I do want to focus more on positivity. There's so much hate, there's so much negativity, there's so much division going on in this world right now. I just want to say, like, in that case, I guess not even trying to make a joke, so that one's not necessarily black and white. There's a little bit of a gray area in this one. I always speak honestly. I always speak, I say this almost every episode, and because I want to make it so clear, I start in the middle on everything. In other words, I don't just jump on and say, well, yeah, of course. I try to collect the facts. I try to start here, and then I go a little here, a little here, a little here. I just collect things as they come in. She's a victim, and that it's sad. I think there's a little bit of a gray area. Again, I don't think the cops just went there and purposely shot a black woman, and that's kind of what the media narrative is. I don't believe in that. I don't accept that. Again, there's a slight gray area. She was a victim. She didn't deserve to die. I think there is a little bit of an association problem. That does not mean in any way, shape, or form I am blaming the victim, because I am not. You do have to be careful who you're associating with. I want to make this clear. I had a friend. Now, sometimes when people say I have a friend and they're talking about themselves, this is literally, I had a friend. I have a friend. This person's still a friend. I don't want to name names. But I remember several years ago, this friend, and again, not me, really a friend, not me. But I have a friend, and this friend was hanging out with someone who was a very shady character, but they had one thing in common. They liked to go to concerts together. But this other person was always involved in crime, always breaking the law, always doing stupid things, selling drugs, just doing bad things. And some people listening, they know exactly who I'm talking about. I'm not going to say any names. And I remember telling my friend who is still a very decent guy, a very law-abiding guy, a very good guy who never breaks the law, a guy who would never smash a bug. I mean, just a really good person. And I remember saying, look, I'm telling you, guilty by association does exist. Like, you got to be careful who you're hanging out with, because this guy is involved in bad things. You're going to find yourself guilty by association. You're going to get yourself in trouble just because you're with this guy and he's up to no good. And he kind of ignored me. And I said, okay, but I'm telling you, it's not going to end up good. Now, what happens is one time they go to a concert, and I'm paraphrasing and fast forwarding the story and just getting right kind of to the point. But the other guy, I think he said to my friend, hey, sit here, I'm going to go do something real quick. And I think he went and it was a drug deal kind of thing. Now, the guy I know, the friend of mine, never did drugs, would never do drugs, nothing ever to do with drugs. But again, just someone to go to a concert with. And this person ended up getting arrested. My friend now did not get arrested, but there was some red tape, there was some trouble he had to get through. And then he learned the lesson. And I hate, it was like one of those things where I said, like, look, I hate to say I told you so, and then he finally cut off the relationship. This bad person, to this day, is still in prison, has been in and out of prison, I think at least twice, is in prison even now as I record this. So again, without naming names, but you have to be careful who you associate with. And this is, I can turn it into a motivational type thing. I'm not blaming Breonna Taylor. I am not. She was a victim. She was shot. There's more to the story than that, though. It wasn't just like, again, it wasn't like the cops just busted down her door and shot an innocent black woman. Although, again, that's the media narrative. If you look at it just like that, that's what it looks like. But I think most people know the story. I don't even know how deep I have to go into it. And probably, in fact, I probably won't, just because. I mean, I'll lightly go over it. She was dating a drug dealer. Again, association, you got to be careful who you're associating with. To my knowledge, that boyfriend, I guess they had broken up, but then she had a new guy at her house. And the cops had a no-knock warrant. Now, according to reports, they did still knock. I don't know if that's accurate or not. I'm just reporting it as I've read many things, and it seems most of the reports I read say that they did in fact knock. And then I believe that they did knock the door down. And then immediately the new boyfriend or the new friend, the guy, whatever you want to say, he starts firing. He starts shooting. He hit one of the cops in the leg, and then the cops fired back. Okay, again, you got to watch. So there's a lot of gray area in this. It wasn't like the cops just blasted down the door and started shooting. In fact, they were shot at first. Why is this person shooting at the cops? Now, this person claims that they didn't know it was the cops breaking in, and that could be the case. I don't know. The cops are saying, no, we said, hey, we're the cops. They didn't, even though they had a no-knock warrant. See, again, gray area. There's a lot of gray area. I can say I'm always big on don't break the law and comply. 99.9% of this goes away. I think everyone's talking about reforming the police. And maybe, yes, maybe there is something that has to be done a little bit with that. But when I look at the stats and I look at the number of black people that are killed, and they're killed more by more black people, I say, unfortunately, we have to, and I know this is going to sound bad, but I'm just saying it as it is. We have to also do a little bit of reform with the black culture, with black society. That does not mean all black people, okay? Again, but it also means that not all cops are bad, but for some reason that's the narrative now. All cops are bad, defund the police. That's not true. That's not accurate. But we have to start. Rap absolutely glorifies gun violence and breaking the law and crime. There's a culture problem here. Not all, I'm making this very clear. We can't glorify crime and guns and shooting and killing and murder and drugs. There has to be a reform. There also has to be a reform in fathers staying at home and raising your children. There has to be a reform in comply. First of all, don't break the law, and second of all, comply. I see it over and over and over and over again. In all of these cases, there's non-compliance, which leads to escalation, which oftentimes, unfortunately, leads to death. We're not talking about that, though. We just keep saying the cops need to reform. Well, what do the cops need to reform? If they're getting shot at, they have every right to shoot back. And this person did not shoot at the cops. Again, gray area. I'm not saying if someone busted into my house, I would probably shoot first, okay? If I knew it was a cop, I wouldn't. Gray area. I don't know on this one. I don't know because he's saying he didn't know it was the cops. The cops saying they addressed, hey, we're the cops, we're breaking down your door. Maybe he didn't hear it. Maybe, see, taking it down the middle. I'm being fair in my assessment in this. I can say, I don't know about this no-knock warrant. I don't know enough about it. I would say maybe, is there a way we can do no-knock warrants? Can't the cops sit outside and wait for this person to walk outside and then arrest him? If that's the case, I don't quite understand all the details in a no-knock warrant, but I'm saying in other words, if the cops never had to bust down the door, if this person never would have taken shots at the cop first, there would have been no shots fired from the cops. I can say that pretty damn confidently, okay? So gray area, unfortunately, in this case, I think Breonna Taylor is a victim. She was shot, but you got to keep it in perspective. The cops didn't just bust in the door and start shooting. They were shot at. One cop was shot in the leg. This is fact. And then the cop shot back. If I were a cop and someone was shooting at me, yes, I would start shooting back. Unfortunately, she got shot in the middle of it all. Her family won a $12 million civil rights lawsuit. Is that justice? Does that bring her back? Absolutely not. But we got to look at more than just the cops busted down the door and started shooting at her. That's not what happened. I'm going off of facts here. So, again, like I said, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. But now, again, we're seeing more looting. We're seeing more rioting. We're seeing more destruction of cities. What do these innocent businesses that are being looted and destroyed, in particular Louisville, but there's been a few all over the place, what do they have to do with what happened to Breonna Taylor? I don't. Those are the kind of dots I can never connect. Let's destroy the city we live in because if your thought process is, your perspective is an innocent black woman is shot, so now we got to destroy the city we live in. We got to destroy innocent people's buildings and how they put food on the table. There's no connection to that makes any sense to me whatsoever. I'm seeing people like I saw Al Sharpton talking, and he was saying, like, you know, again, the law doesn't care about black people. They just kill innocent black people. I'm like, no, that's not exactly how this one played out. And it's certainly not how the majority of these play out. Gray area in this one. There's a lot of gray area in this one. I always report honestly. I always report fairly. A lot of times, most of the time, I see it as breaking the law and then non-compliance. That's what leads to this. If we focused on that, if we focused on fatherless homes, because we're going to learn how to respect authority, if we focus on don't break the law, and if we focus on compliance, this side is going to be taken care of in a very big way. We're not focusing on black crime, which is a way bigger problem. I've said this to a friend before, and I want to say it on the show, and then I'm going to move on. If you look, because I really don't want to spend a lot of time on this, I do want to make this more positivity, more motivational, more success type talk. I've said this before on the show, this particular part, but then I want to add to it something I don't believe I've shared on any of my shows. If you look at 9 people a year, statistically speaking, are killed by cops. Black men are killed by cops, statistically speaking. Over 7,000, I think it's 7,500 on average, are killed by black on black crime, okay? If you were a business owner, I want to make this so it's very easy to understand, metaphorically speaking. If you were a business owner, you owned a business, and this one action you were taking or inaction you were not taking, let's say, for example, was costing your business $9 a year, versus, you had to choose from one. Do we address this one, the $9 a year we're losing? We're bleeding out $9 a year by this action or inaction over here. Or over here, this action or inaction we're taking, we're losing $7,500 a year. What do you think as a business owner, what would you put more of your focus on? Okay. Now I'm not saying this one doesn't need to be addressed too, but what would more of the attention be on? What's going to save more black lives? Addressing this or addressing this? We all know the answer to that. It's very obvious. It's very simple math. You're going to address the bleeding out, kind of metaphorically speaking here in many ways, the 7,500 that are dying over the 9 that are dying. Both are important. Both are important. But if Black lives really do matter, and I believe that they do, I'm not real big on this organization though. The Black Lives Matter organization. Black lives do matter. What I'm saying, the fatherless homes, stop breaking the law, the compliance, we got to get that narrative out there more. That will save, the things that I'm saying will save more Black lives than defund the police, defund the police. Defunding the police will get even more Black people killed. If you really care about Black lives, like I do, listen to what I'm saying, like I do. See, some people don't hear the whole message and they take things out of context. I care about Black lives. The things that I'm saying, if they're taken seriously and we put more attention over here, more Black lives will be saved. I would love anybody to debate me on that. I saw someone who's a friend of mine, by the way, a very liberal friend. I'm not going to expose anything other than one of the things said, old white men are, I'm paraphrasing it, but old white men are ruining this country. And I'm like, I don't know about that. I don't see old white men running down the streets, looting and rioting and breaking windows. I don't see that. So let's put things into perspective. That's all I want to say about that. Let's move on. Enough race talk. I'm getting tired of it. I'm getting tired of seeing it on the news every damn day. And I know what some people would say, well, that's easy for you to say. You're a white man. You have white privilege. All right. Go to work every day, drive 2 hours one way every single day to work, pay my taxes, good citizen, don't break the law. White privilege. Okay. All right. That's all I want to say about that. You know, words a lot of times are so important, and sometimes I think we put too much into words, and I want to explain this part out too. Again, I'm getting a little deep here. This episode is definitely going to be a deep episode, but a thought-provoking episode. And I love feedback. I love when you guys comment, when you give me feedback. But you cannot get wet from the word water. You cannot get wet from the word water. Sometimes people put so much into what people say. This person called me this. Are you that? Are you that? If you're not that, then don't let it bother you. Don't worry about it. You cannot get wet from the word water. Okay? The word is irrelevant. The actual physical form of water, what water is, that could get you wet. The word water does not get you wet. So if someone calls you a name and you know that it's not true, let it roll off. It doesn't matter. Who cares? Especially if you know that you're not that. Now, it doesn't mean that maybe sometimes you should take critiques. Someone says something, maybe you should take an honest critique of yourself. Maybe you should analyze it. Maybe you should look into it a little bit more. But it is odd as humans, what we do, what we tend to do. And I know I'm guilty of this too, but I'm working on it. I'm definitely working on it. Sometimes, a lot of times, my content, it comes from things that I'm working out in my actual own life and things and lessons that I'm trying to learn and do. Like, don't cut my damn hair so short. I'm starting to look good. See, the more hair I have, the better looking I am because it covers my face a little bit. All right, now I feel very exposed. I should put a mask on. Here, what if I did the rest of the show like this? What if I did it like this? Isn't this becoming so normal now, seeing people with a mask? Don't worry, I'm not gonna wear this. I'm only gonna wear it for a couple minutes. But see, I already look better. My face is covered. I'd be a good superhero because my face would not be exposed. All right, although I have a good Batman chin, so if this part of my face was covered and just my chin was showing, I think that would be okay too. All right, so, but what we do as humans a lot of times is, this mask is gonna come off, I promise. What we do a lot of times is we put too much effort into what people are saying. So you could have 7,000 people say something good about you, but one person says something bad, and that's all you're gonna focus on, and it's sad. You should look at what you're doing. I wasn't even going to talk about this. I don't have it written down, but like, I'll give you an example. I had a troll, and I think I've converted him, and I've never had a conversation with him directly about, he had a tagline, his actual name when he commented on the show, let me get this off, was "The Scott Ford Show Sucks." And I never once asked him, hey man, take that down. I don't like that. Please don't do that. That's offending me. Never once did I do that. I will say though, I killed him with kindness, and then I actually kind of converted him over. He's actually leaving nice comments now. I've never asked him to do that. I never said, "Hey, you need to leave me nice comments. Hey, you need to change your name." Hey, he changed his name. It's no longer the Scott Ford Show Sucks. I think I'm getting in. I don't know who it is. I have no idea who it is. It could be someone I know. It could. I don't know. I have no idea who it is. But if you watch the shows and how they've gone, it starts out the Scott Ford Show sucks and bad comments, and then it turns into, now maybe this will bring back bad comments. I hope it doesn't. But if you notice, I never once had a conversation with him about, you have to change the name, you have to start saying nice things. I can't believe, I never once have I done that. I've just done what I do on his own or her own. It could be a girl, I don't know. Changed their name, and now starts leaving nice comments. So to you, I want to say thank you, and I want to say you're welcome. You're welcome to the show, and I hope you're getting the message, and I hope it's getting to you, and I hope it's getting to you in a good way, and I hope it's making a positive impact into your life. You can convert it. Like I listen to Joyce Meyer every day. I really love Joyce Meyer. And she told a story one time where she was doing a deal with someone, paraphrasing it, of course, and a couple of her associates were at this restaurant, and they happened to be right next to the table of the people that she was going to do a deal with. Joyce Meyer was going to do a deal with. And these people were ripping Joyce Meyer apart. They were talking bad about her, saying every bad name in the book, saying bad things about her, and it got back to Joyce Meyer. And of course, she said her first instinct was she wanted to cut the deal, and she wanted to destroy these guys and let them know that she knows what they said, and blah, blah, and on and on. Instead, what she did, she sent them a gift. In her words, she said the Lord spoke to her and said, no, you're not going to do that. You're not going to talk bad about these people. You're not going to let them know that you know. Instead, what you're going to do is send them both a gift. And you're not going to even address that you know what they said. And she did that. There's a story there. There's a lesson there. You have to make it hard for someone to say they actually hate you. If you're constantly you let ego go. Let ego go. Push it to the side and just say, listen, I know this person doesn't like me. I'm not going to give them a reason to like me. Whenever I hear, it is rare, I'm not saying I'm perfect, because believe me, I am not, but it is very rare when I hear when I get feedback that this person doesn't like you, because I'm always, if I do, which is very, very rare, my first instinct is, really? Why? Like, I don't, to my knowledge, I don't do anything bad to anybody, certainly not intentional. I try to be very happy. I try to spread happiness and kindness, and I do things for people, and on, right? So I try to make it very hard. So if I get that feedback where someone doesn't like me, I try to I'm going to kill them with kindness. I'm going to make it like in a weird way where they have to kind of feel stupid for not liking me, because I'm going to, again, send them a gift, or do them a favor, or bring up their garbage cans if I see them at the end of the street, which I've done that before. On and on, right? You can't, I'll give you a very good example. When my wife's father was passing away and all this was going on, and I was in Indianapolis and my wife was in Indianapolis and we were gone from our house, my neighbor Carl, just to give you an example, this is just an example, he mowed our lawn for us. Now, I love Carl. Everyone who listens back to the podcast and listens to the show, I love Tracy, I love Carl. Can you imagine now if you heard me talking bad about Carl, how that would reflect on me? That would not reflect on Carl. I didn't ask Carl to mow my lawn. I didn't tell him to mow my lawn. I came home and the lawn was mowed. Tracy looked after our pool. It needed some attention. I didn't ask Tracy. To be fair, to be quite honest, I did ask Tracy, but I asked her after the fact. She was like, "Oh, hey man, we're on top of it. We already been looking after your pool." See what I mean? Good people. Now, can you imagine if I got caught talking bad about Tracy or Carl? Wouldn't that look bad on me? Not on Tracy and Carl. Same with Nicole and Tim. Tim's a listener of the show. Nicole, I think, sometimes does, and hopefully this gets to her. Tim, tell Nicole to listen and subscribe. You know what I'm saying? They looked after our dog, and they constantly let us know, if you need anything, let us know. Can you imagine if I got caught talking smack about Tim or Nicole? I love Tim and Nicole. Nicole's over with, they're tight. My wife and Nicole are tight. I love Tim. See what I'm saying? You have to make it hard for people to hate you. Now, it doesn't mean you have to go out of your way. You shouldn't have to go out of your way to make someone like you. That's not the message at all, in fact. But if you're constantly a good person, you're constantly doing good things for people, it'd be odd if they didn't like you. So kill them with kindness. I guess that's the message. I want to go back to, I did say it earlier in the show, but the ancestor of every action is a thought. I really like that. The ancestor of every action is a thought. In other words, it has to start here for it to happen here. Think about what you want in your life. Watch the word you use. Watch the negative talk. Like, oh, this always happens to me, or why does my life suck, or this only happens to me. Oh, of course, yeah, of course that happened to me. That's what always happens to me. Does it? Really look at your life for a second. Do you have a home? Do you have food? Do you have the essentials that you need to survive? Do you have children? Sometimes don't focus on what you don't have. It's very easy for people to do. Focus on what you do have. Bring that to life. Focus on your gratitudes. Focus on the things that you have. And I promise you, if your thought is here, you're constantly thinking the good things, if you're counting your blessings and counting your gratitudes, I guarantee more of that is going to seem to come into your life. Don't focus on the negativity. Even going back to like, I focus on people who don't like you and don't like you. Don't give them energy. Focus on the people who do like you. The things that are going good in your life. And I promise you're going to get more of that. You're going to get more of it. You're going to get more of it. I really do. I'm strong on that. The ancestor of every action is a thought. So think about the good things. Put the good things in your mind. And you're going to see more good things in your life. There is no way to happiness. Happiness is the way. I feel like I'm repeating a lot of things today because I want it to sink in. There is no way to happiness. Happiness is the way. Be happy. Spread happiness. Be a good person. And you're going to get more of it coming back to you. What I've been doing every day now and driving my wife and my daughter insane is when it's time to, I get up before they do. And so I get up, I work out, I'm already motivated, I'm pumped, I'm ready to go. But when I wake them up, I'm like, hey, Alexa, start playing Don't Worry, Be Happy from Bobby McFerrin. It's a very happy song. It's a very happy song. And I play it, and I play it loud. Of course, my wife and my daughter, they are not morning people, so they do not wake up happy. I do wake up happy. But because that's my mindset. I wake up and I start counting my blessings. I think they wake up and they start like, why do I have to get up? And I don't want to. I'm using them as an example, but it is true. It's a true example. But change that a little bit. Think about it. Don't worry, be happy. Think about those words. If you haven't listened to the song in a while, I encourage you to do so. Don't worry, be happy. It can't be any more simpler than that. And it's funny. It's a fun, moving song. Watch the video too. You see Robin Williams dancing. That song puts me in a very good mood. Start your day off right. Start your day off right. Start counting your blessings. Start dancing like an idiot. I literally play the song and I start dancing like an idiot, like a fool. And I do it because it's just reminding me, like, we don't have to worry about some stupid things. Abundance is coming to you. Health is coming to you. Think of these things. Think of your gratitudes. Think of all the things. We're so damn rich. Even if you're not rich, you're rich. You're alive. You're watching this. There's so much beauty in this world. Life is poetry in motion. Spread that happiness. Spread that love. Don't worry. Be happy. What does worry do, by the way, too? Let's say you're involved in something and something bad is going on. Does worry solve the problem? Instead of worrying about it, say, how do we solve this? How do I get past this? Count your blessings. Think about the good things in your life. Don't worry. Be happy. And with that, my friends, enjoy your life. Have a magical day.